welcome once again for those of you who've attended yesterday as well. Welcome also to our new attendees to the second part of the webinar series on the topic go-to-market and customer-focused attraction. This is our agenda. Yesterday we talked about problem-solution fitness, understanding customers. I led you a little bit into the area of the customer empathy map, a little tool, a small tool that you can use to bring meat onto the bones of potential customer profiles. So get it filled with good information, finding out the blood pressure moments of your target group. Today, we want to go a little bit deeper into product market fitness, also finding the right content hub in the storyline, because what we very often see is that content and the product is very often built only for one big group of potential customers, but not really targeted specifically to the specific customer profiles. And then tomorrow we want to go into the go-to-market execution. So from part one, part two, this is a good fundamental things. We are going into the area of finding the right channels for a sustainable portfolio. A short review of what we have done yesterday. This is one tool one profile that you can use additionally within your daily work. So this is the ideal customer profile. You can use that checking on your potential customers, or the customers that might be in your pipeline, that might be not yet in your pipeline, but you see them already, and your existing customers. So what is the ideal customer profile looking like? It's actually a very easy matrix. Like you check your potential and existing customers into different criteria like need, time, success, budget, and winners. And then you are having, let's say, three criteria on there is no fit, there is a, let's say, workable fit, and there is a complete fit. And in the end, you will have a score. And if you place that, or you bring that score to your different potential or existing customers in your pipeline or in your customer base, you will get a good knowledge of with whom should you spend more time, and with whom could you, is it not only out of your gut feeling that you are not spending so much time with this customer or the customer base. That just is a short introduction to the customer profile, the ideal customer profile. Now let's go into product market fit. Product market fit, very often what I see from founders or from startups is that I'm seeing some chat. Let me check that shortly. Okay, thank you, Isabella. What I see very often within the product market fit is that founders very often focus only on the upper part of this pyramid, like only the product. If the product with the user experience, with the feature set, with the value proposition as a fundamental thing, is in a pretty good shape, they very often leave it to that point. And at the market, the only area that is very often targeted is the customer. But what often misses is that the market is more than only customers. It's also the needs from the customer side. What does that mean? There are needs that the customer has, for example, also with his workarounds, also with competitors' products that are not really fulfilled to his, let's say, to his wow moment, so that he says, wow, that is a great experience that I'm having here. One one example where I see that, or where you also can imagine that, is actually the brand on the right side, the one with the bitten apple. So Apple, they were not the first who started with tablet computers at all. So there were some companies like HP and some others in the area of the late 90s, bringing some flat tablet computers already on the market. But what they not really managed in the way is setting the right category, or bringing, designing or defining the right category for underserved needs. So today you probably won't remember that HP already did some kind of tablet computer, because what was the problem with their approach to the market was they thought the customer has a big computer. The customer maybe also has a small phone. What we are currently doing is like bringing to a market what a big computer can do, only in a smaller size. So this is what was the approach for HP. So the approach that the smaller format of a computer is the only thing that the customer needs within his current environment. This did not really work. So this was the area where HP and others did not succeed, until it came that Apple did the first real approach in category design, and understood that there is something between a big computer or a laptop and a small phone, call it a smartphone. There must be something in between, and that is not a smaller laptop, or that is not a bigger smartphone. So what they managed to, as a result, is they delivered a new category, the category tablet computer, that has different features than a laptop has, and also different features that a smartphone has. What is that actually about? It's about category design, and it's about the underserved needs. And if you are thinking yourself about categories design, there is on the one hand a small tool. I will go on to that a little later. And there are actually 3 questions that you can ask yourself for defining your category. And the category design, in terms of product market fit, it is a very important step to manage, because very often you only think about how can I be better, how can I be faster, how can I be more cheaper than my competition. And if you can design, develop, and define a new category, like that's very specific in positioning, you're thinking about a complete different way to approach an area. And there are 3 supporting questions for that. The first is, can you explain another person or me, like a 5-year-old, what problem are you trying to solve? So if you are trying to explain that either to your young child or to your grandma in very non-technical terms, what kind of problem are you trying to serve or to solve? On the second, so the second layer is, if your company solves this problem perfectly, in which kind of category are you in? Is this category already existing, or are you currently defining a new category, and this is the step to go? And then the third part, and this is very often and also very good for your usage in terms of your next pitch deck, for example. If you win the biggest part of this category, what is the size of the category in a potential. And now I want to go into how can we actually generate data when for this product market fit. We need to generate data that might be out of workarounds from your potential customers, that might be generating data from your competition. And from your competition, that's not only a bad thing. So in my experience, understanding and getting to know competition is extremely helpful in terms of getting data and not going just on a green field. Where you use that, and maybe you already did that in a way, but I want to show you some more ways. Is for example, using reviews or real testimonials. And where do we find real testimonials? I want to go into that in a live approach in a few minutes. And we can understand what are actually the storylines of these competitive companies. And one example, I think that popped up a little bit too early, but that's okay. One example would be, and that's, I think, really pragmatic. If I would be interested in selling some specific new product in the honey area, like if I want to sell a new honey, then I could generate some data out of, for example, reviews on other honey on platforms like Amazon. And what I found out there, and this is not a real time-consuming approach. What I found out here is some honey, I don't call it any name, where people named it like, hey, this was the honey that I ordered was ill packaged and it caused leaking. I bought a total of 4 flavors. They were in individual boxes. But this one, so 3 are fine, but the honey leaked all over. So this is not so this is probably a good review or a real review, because in these days with all the testimonials, we are facing the field where people are treated with fake testimonials as well. But what we are currently looking is at not the 5-star reviews. We are wanting to find out the underserved needs. And with this example, it shows that people very often not only look at what you would say that is the best honey product, for example. They see the product in a much broader range. They see, for example, that the shipping, that the package, that this belongs to the product itself or the experience itself. I had another review, but that only was in German, where someone in a review wrote something about, hey, I could cure some sickness with on my body somewhere with some honey, or I could cure something for my pet with the honey. So this is where you could generate some data that brings you valuable information on how to maybe in what direction can you go and what category can you define. And now let's just go into practice. Way one is check on your competition storyline. So understanding what kind of story is a specific competitor using or telling their customers. There you can get some information from. And the way two is check on existing underserved customer needs. And I want to do that on the example of I hope a few of your teams. So one of you is from the Relate app, and I hope that you are today there with the Relate app. If not, I think for the others, it's just the example case. You can approach that as well. So in another way, not directly to relate it to Amazon that I showed you before with the honey. For Relate, if I want to check out what kind of competition would be in my area, so Relate, they are doing a visual development platform. Just that you know, and the start where I would go and look for underserved needs for my customers would be a platform that is called G2 Crowd, for example. There are others. I have no shares in them, so don't worry. And what I would look here, for example, is like a mobile development platform. Because this is the area where Relate app is in. And now I'm checking, and I hope that the connection is working good. So what I, on the one hand, see here on G2 Crowd, it's a free platform. I'm currently using this for free and not signed up or signed in, because you also, in this way, can generate a lot of information. On the one hand, you see some kind of who is in all the area of mobile development platforms. And then I only one example. If I see, okay, Visual Studio could be one of our competitors, I am checking for how many of these reviews do they have. Is it only 5? Then it's maybe not so interesting. If there are about 443, it's a good source of information. I will dig into that a little bit deeper. Here I can get a little bit of information. What is this Visual Studio actually about? Something about their pricing. And then what I'm interested in is the reviews. And here, once again, for sure, you can get in some insights, some impulses of the 5-star, the 4-star reviews. That's all good. But what I'm currently looking for is some kind of underserved needs, some pain points that the customers were looking at. And what is the great thing about this platform from G2 Crowd is that everyone who leaves a review here needs to place what did you like the best and what did you dislike, and some other recommendations. And if I am, as a potential developer of the Relate app, if I'm interested in what could we do better than, or in which kind of category could we go in, because there are underserved needs, I would pretty much look into what did the customers dislike in the area. And you will find a lot, and also some inspiration on that. This kind of platform is pretty good for softwares that are already so in areas that you're going in that are already existing, where there are data. And this is the area where I say it is not bad that competition is existing. And it doesn't have, or it doesn't mean that you have to go in all the same category. The main category could be for them here, it could be by development platforms, but then within this bigger category, you define some new for yourself. Another area of generating data is additional to, for example, the Amazon reviews. I went to a platform that you probably also know. It's Trustpilot. Very often we see it only under as some kind of trust signals on websites. What I want to go here is for one of your teams that is called Forkit. They want to build the future of grocery shopping. And out of my view, only for this example, I compared them a little bit to the area of Blue Apron or HelloFresh that is in Germany. So for Blue Apron, for example, that comes from the United States. I think that is from the United States. Now we have a chat information from Florentina. Is it possible to filter for German-based companies on G2 or Trustpilot? Let me check that. I think you can look for German companies as well, but I'm not pretty sure if it is a real category in that, or if you have to name that, for example, here in German. I'm not pretty sure. So they are having a big database, but actually G2 crowd is coming from the United States. Florentina finds it that problems are not always the same, and customer complain about different things in different regions. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think you need to, let's say, distill or condense some of these reviews, and probably more to find out patterns. So I think this is out of our experience. That is not like you can take 3 experiences and they are almost always the same. So this is pretty much the same also with the reviews. With a Trustpilot, I would say there is the same with than with G2 crowd. You need to also find out where did that reviewing customer come from. And here it actually is the same. Okay, thank you, Paul. So Trustpilot is, I think, only an example for you, as you're probably the most of you not only on the German market. I wanted to go a little bit international. And here the same, if I want to go into some inspiration, into ideas of where are underserved needs with Blue Apron, then I would just filter the reviews by the most bad ones, and I will probably get some inspiration. And it's almost the same as with the honey before. So, for example, like this, they shipped me food with authorizing. In comparison with HelloFresh, there are something delayed shipments. So there is the food is simply not that good. So this is different areas of what your product could be, that you get information. What belongs as a real important factor to your product, and what can people in specific regions. Thank you for that, Florentina. That's perfect, because that's important in a specific region that don't really need a specific area of your product, for example. So where you maybe focus on a specific item, feature, or whatever is, other people think about it as, okay, that's nice to have, but it's not necessary at all. That's the second idea I want to give you. And then one platform that comes actually from the area of search engine optimization, that's called Ubersuggest. You can find it via ubersuggest.io. And this platform got a huge value shift, I think, during the last month, and I'm a big fan of that. It's also the version that I'm using here is also for free, and you can use that also for free. And if I am, for example, with Paul from Freelance Junior, so your area is you want to connect student freelancers with companies. What is a real good category that you are in, because there are platforms for freelancers. There are maybe also some kind of fields where you find working students or young students, and that you bring both together. You could maybe gather data out of this Ubersuggest. For example, if you want to understand what is the storyline of your competitors. The storyline of your competitors, I just gathered one of them, that could be Workgenius. And Workgenius has the following domain. With this Ubersuggest, it's actually possible to get ideas of your what kind of keywords can you generate, what are the top pages of your competitors, and so on. And here we want to use that more in the area of understanding the storyline of the potential competitors. And there comes this new feature that they brought into this product, I think only a few weeks ago, is that you can check for free on competitors' URLs. And as I see now, for example, Workgenius has about 200 organic keywords. That is not so interesting where we want to go now. I want to go into the top pages of what does Workgenius have. So Workgenius is, let's say, also a platform where they bring working students together with companies. And we see here, for example, Workgenius has a small amount of English-speaking pages. They are also, I think, from Germany. And I think I will stay here in the German area. Paul, if you want to check that, I would recommend check on the German ones. And what do we see here? We see on the one hand the SEO titles of all the top traffic pages, and what can bring this kind of a value in terms of understanding the storyline is what kind of story tries the Workgenius or your competitor tries to tell your potential customers here. Is it like how listening to clients led genius staffing solution launch? So what are they trying to tell as a story? So this is what you can read out of here without being on their blog all the time. So you will have a good overview of that. That is the one, and I already had another tool that is called Screamingfrog. That's also coming from the SEO side, so search engine optimization. There is also a free version you can download. That's only a downloadable software, and it's pretty much the same. So also for Freelance Junior, I named another competitor. I saw that Freelance DE, so they could be some of your competitors in the wider field, let's say. And I just bring in the URL of them, start, and what does this kind of Screamingfrog do? It is some kind of a crawler that goes through pages. With the free version, you can only, or you are just limited to, I think, 500 pages that are crawled. And what you're doing there is understanding so what kind of amount of websites and pages does the competitor have. And you can check on some different, for example, meta descriptions, page titles, and so on. So everything could be out of interest. But the most interesting, I think, in understanding the storyline is the page titles. And then you can, for example, reorder that by alphabetic order, and you may understand what areas is, for example, this competitor Freelance DE, where are they going? Is it like independent professionals? Is it like challenges as a freelancer? In which kind of area? It gives you, I think, a good idea. I hope you get the point that I wanted to make here. Okay, so these are two ways. The way one, check on the storyline, get an idea of what story could you, besides that, define then, and check on the underserved needs. That could be done with reviews like on Amazon, G2 Crowd, Trustpilot, and also other review platforms. Okay, now that you have generated some data, now that it's not only based on gut feeling, I know you're on different points in your journey with setting up your company. At one point, and that's pretty often, so out of my experience, it makes sense to pretotype some elements. And with pretotyping, and the word is really correct, I can also give you a literature recommendation for that. Very often we only know or we remember of one, and that's pretty much the minimum viable product. But with pretotyping, actually, you very often have different ways to test something together with customers, or to let the customer think there is something already there without being in reality there. The Mechanical Turk, one of the most historical examples, is some kind of a chess computer where some landlord or some lord played chess or some other game, some board game, and below, within this Mechanical Turk box, within this black box, there was some real human. And this is what you also today can do. I just want to go back, sorry. There are other pretotypes that you could consider. For example, the provincial, if it is, so you don't have to start with the whole world. You can start with a small regional amount to do that. You can also check the fake door, something like a, or it's, let's say, pretty comparable to a minimum viable product, but there is nothing behind. So you have a good looking entrance, but at first there's nothing behind it. You want to check how many people want to enter the door. Then also the relabel or the pretend to own. So if there is some competitor or some related area that you might want to go in, you can also use their services or their products and relabel that and bring that to the customer for his experience, to find out what is really the value that you could bring in there. And for the specific reason, because minimum viable products, we very often deal with that in the startup field. There is very often one big mistake made by founders, that we are focusing on the functional area. So we say there must be a good amount that we can bring that to the customers. But and I think the example of for example, the honey review, it shows that it must be more than, for example, only the sweet honey inside the glass. There must be more. Also, when prototype or pretotyping this, you need to have also the areas of reliability, usability, and emotional design. And so that's for the product market fit. I think only a few impulses where you can generate data. Now let's go a little bit into the area of content, because within this whole area of product market fit, I see very often that the content is really the driver that brings you into doors, that opens doors for you, and this very often only works if you have a good storyline. And the storyline can start from very small, on a spoken, and also in parts in a written way of doing it. That could be starting with 3 hashtags that you are using typically on existing platforms, that could be used when you are doing your mini pitch on a meetup. That is also very easy. A storyline, setting up a one-liner that might be your one line below or at your LinkedIn profile. Then the sentence to the point on the phone. This is what I'm coming to on the next slide. This is typically the one sentence that you might answer if someone asks, what is the call about? Why are you calling me? Then different versions or lengths of your pitch. That doesn't have to be there at the very first day when you start, but as something as a guideline, or like a guideline that you maybe bring some of these elements from time to time into your whole storyline. So that you say, okay, for specific reasons, it makes sense that I have a 1 minute pitch, because I know there are some kind of events where this 1 minute pitch is absolutely necessary. Then there might be a 3 minute story or a 10 minute short speech or presentation about what are you doing. And all of these elements, it makes sense that they tell, all in all, the same storyline. That's why it's called storyline, and not that your 3 hashtags is totally contrary to your 60 seconds pitch. And if you are doing a presentation or a short speech, then it's also another, it's also going into another area. For the sentence to the point, so it actually, I only learned that during the last years from a few really inspiring salespeople. On the one hand, salespeople from but also from the United States. And very often this is what companies are missing, or what people are missing when they are starting with some kind of customer development on the phone or on the on Skype that we had yesterday. Or in later stages also sales. And this is only one example, and that example is probably not the very best, but this gives you an idea of elements of this sentence to the point. We had done this together with a customer of us that we are currently supporting with their go-to-market here in Germany. That's a later stage startup in the area of innovation management. So they are delivering an innovation management or a corporate development platform, so software. And what are we there starting with on the phone is like you and your innovation management employees are having typically some challenge. It's not about starting with we. So that's point one. You. And here it comes one short sentence about what are we currently doing. We help companies to shape their future. So that's a very compressed version of the value proposition. And this is also what very often misses when people start pitching on the phone or starting their customer conversations on the phone, is that they stay with the fluff talk and don't go focused and don't go in German I would say concrete. So I think concrete is not the right word in English. When you name some numbers, and the best is you name a number that is related to grow something, and also have some verbal or some wording expressions for growing and also reducing something. So if you only reduce costs, then the recommendation by sales experts is you also should you add something that is growing or that is leading to a bigger amount of, for example, revenue, sales, and whatever that is. And then you're having some question the best in the end, because you don't want to pitch something and want the other person leave it like that, or in the best, or in the most bad way, that the other person says, so what? So the best is you check that in the end with a question. Okay, and the from small to big is also working for bigger amounts than for bigger amounts than also with your company bio. So this is a continuation of the slide before. What are your company profiles telling in terms of the storyline? What are the keywords on the different levels that we had yesterday, for example? The level impulse, so what are the symptoms on the level need, on the level solution, and on the level offer? I hope you remember that from yesterday. Then maybe it makes sense to have a one-page or a textual one, a storyline pitch deck. That is what startups very often already have before having some easier part in a written version. So what problem are you solving? What is the real solution? What is the target group actually? And then there come the more, let's say, the forms or the texts that need more time and also some investment at some point of time, with white papers, case studies, success stories. And what I want to add, I think this is the last thing also for today, and I see that the time is pretty good. For example, with white papers or with case studies, the most companies are doing a big mistake because they are developing these kind of white papers, these kind of studies for themselves. And it is pretty much the same with starting a whole startup. You this log in and wait until they come. It is the same with smaller content parts like white papers. And what I can recommend you is using that you use content as door openers, or you can also call them Trojan horses, because you can you might use already the time frame when developing this white paper or this study or this paper. You call it whatever you want. You also use the time frame from the very first interviews up until to the publishing time. And what does this lead to? It leads to that you will get the foot into the door at very high target potential customers. It leads to trust. It leads to the area that you get connected with experts in this field. Either you are already getting yourself, or you're becoming yourself experts, or it leads to that you are also investigating and, for example, interviewing people who are seen already as experts. And in the best way, it brings you leads into your pipeline. And this is one approach that we are doing at almost every project. In the area of customer development, it makes sense to push from the very beginning one content project that is maybe called white paper with the working title, for example, 5 steps to better content marketing. And then it makes sense to get in touch with content marketing experts, potential customers who would need something like content marketing. And this brings you, on the one hand, very good customer insights, and on the other hand, it brings you the expertise that you are talking to potential later customers as well anyways. So therefore, use content as door openers. And that is the last, let's say, official slide. My call to action for today is that you please fill a sales battle card that I will show you on the next slide, and then I think that's it. A sales battle card, what is that actually? It is one, or it could be one part of your content hub. That's also pretty similar to the custom empathy map that we had yesterday. It is a living content element for yourself, not for the customers, but for yourself. And what could that be? We have it in that form, and I already got great feedback on that from other batches. It is some kind of a DIN A4 format that describes in a short way, what is your solution? Who is in your audience? What does the customer have as a pain? What is the business benefit? When should we engage or not to engage further with this potential client? What are, for example, our key features within the software or within our product or within our service? What are our supported systems? That might be in the case you are having an app or a software. What are the supported systems? Then we have some area of framing, so how to frame a conversation. This is just additionally. Then some differentiators, comparing, for example, to your competitors. You might have some information there. And then having or gathering some information of FAQs, so frequently asked questions. What are you very often asked, and what is the best answer to that? Having some customer and case study or some reference to that, and maybe if you like to giving some information about pricing and licensing information. And what is this sheet of paper or digital sheet of paper? What is that actually for? It's for your whole team, because it should not only be you as, for example, the marketer or the CEO that is able to talk about you and your storyline in a good way. It should be everyone within your team. And therefore it makes sense, for example, to print that, and also your developers, if they come into the situation that they need to talk about your product or your company, or if they are asked one of these FAQs, that they know what to talk about. And this is one document that might be reviewed from time to time, and brings you very much focus and a feedback from, I think, 2 weeks ago when we had another workshop, was that one of the startups they're attending, they have used this sales battle card in the form of shaping their pitch to a new level. I did not think that this could help as well, but when it brings you to the thinking about what could be the compressed version of our solution or the compressed version of the audience, it is very often pretty helpful. So you will find the template for that, I think, in half an hour when I push that into the Google Drive. And I think that's it for today. If you are having any questions,